This episode is brought to you by Meet Cute Box. Meet Cute Box creates monthly themed date night boxes. Each box is handmade with care based on your membership profile with up to 4 items plus a love-inspired date night. Inside every box, there are unique items gathered from local businesses around the world and packed together with a new theme every month, giving you a new surprise to enjoy. Memberships start at only $29.99 per month, with each box valued up to $100. To join today, visit meetcutebox.com. Meet Cute Box, the membership crate for you and your partner.
You're just funny. It's funny, the way you tell the story and everything.
Funny how?
Come here, though. Yeah, he's crazy, see? Who are you?
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
Are you ready?
Have you just had one of those years, a Murphy Law type of year? Everything that can go wrong will go wrong. 2022 was not the finest moment for the wife and I. This ridiculous disaster started off with me having extremely bad coughs, fevers for days. And, I know ever since 2020, the first thing we think of is, did you get tested? Yes, I got tested. I didn't have corona once during this time. But after about a half dozen hospital visits and going to the ER almost every single week, and not to mention the unnecessary amount of radiation that I got from all the x-rays, turns out I had a tumor. It's not a tumor, but it was a tumor. Kind of scary. Doctors said the best thing to do was to take a biopsy. So they took a scope down my throat to see if this little warlock was cancerous. I'm in the hospital recovering, hopefully waiting to get discharged in a few days. My wife is at home because of corona. You couldn't stay at the hospital all the time. I wake up from a restless night and my wife told me that her father passed away. First things first, I call the nurses and, I tell them the urgency, and they looked at me weird as if, what do you think, you're getting discharged today? They can't keep you in the hospital. They can, of course, tell you that they recommend you stay and yada, yada, yada. So I respectfully, as I possibly could without being completely angry, said, you can either pull this IV out of me right now professionally, or I'm going to rip it out and walk out of here. So the nurse got the doctor. They pulled up my discharge papers very quick. I had my father come pick me up from the hospital, and we rushed over to see my wife. Now, of course, we're both filled with sadness, anger, tons of feelings. And during this entire process, we're waiting for the biopsy to come back because we don't know if this tumor of mine is cancerous, which, by the way, was the longest few days of my life. So as we're waiting to see if this tumor in my lung is cancerous, I just didn't have the energy to be there for my wife as much as I wanted to be. So I need a little help. And that's when I decided to surprise my wife with this little bundle of joy. When I was in the hospital for my biopsies, I was looking at this guy ever since he was born. So, of course, days later, I finally get a call from the doctor with my biopsy results. Thank goodness it wasn't cancerous. But the doctor did tell me we're going to have to remove it because it's in a portion of the lung where they don't remove it. It will continue to get bigger, and then eventually they'll have to remove a huge chunk of my lung. The doctor told me, don't worry, it's only about a third. There's people that are living off one lung. I'm very lucky it wasn't more than that. Of course, it's still very scary. With everything that has happened, it was icing on the cake. A very disgusting, awful, foul cake, but a cake nonetheless. Now, the whole surgery, I think, was only 90 minutes or so, where they made 6 incisions in my side and removed about a third of my lung, including that tumor. But the recovery was tough. I was in the hospital almost 2 weeks, I believe, and I had a tube sticking out of my side. So just to breathe was extremely painful and excruciating. It was hard to get sleep. It was hard to stay positive. Just a lot going through my head. And, more importantly, during this entire process and during this surgery, my wife is still grieving. The fact that I couldn't be there for her as much as I wanted to support her and to love her and to give her the attention that she deserved was killing me. But after a few days, I started to walk a little bit easier. Breathing was still painful, as my body's getting used to it. But I was finally able to get home. And that was tough. Home recovery was definitely tough because I refused to take the painkillers that they prescribed to me. Can you guess what they prescribed? So I didn't want to take those and couldn't sleep. I couldn't play with my new puppy. I couldn't hug my wife. So it was all around just brutal. At this point, you're thinking things could not get worse. Well, you'd be wrong. At this point, it's been about 4 months of hell. If you haven't seen the other videos, go check them out. But just a few days after recovering from my lung surgery, getting discharged, heading home, being in massive amounts of pain, could barely breathe, can't walk, can't sleep, can't move that well, I get the call from my employer, which really was my dream job. I mean, I love working here, saying they're forced to downsize, and they laid off about a dozen people, including me. And that hurt. But I remember specifically going into my wife's office and I said, "You want to hear something funny?" And I told her, and we just both shook our heads and cried, and it was hard. And we're only a few months into 2022 at this point. It was tough to get all this news and to deal with this. But with everything that did happen, it, I don't want to say opened up my eyes because you kind of know this stuff, but when you have these type of events, especially in our case, multiple events back to back to back, you really start putting things more in perspective. Kind of cliche, but it is true. Not only did we realize that, we need to do more things for us, spend time with family and friends that really love us, and, not to waste time with negative people and negative conversations, and also do things that we love. I was doing things that I loved, but really, I loved other things more. I love podcasting, creating content, and I loved all that stuff. And I knew all this that was happening was just a wake-up call for me. And maybe I was being too stressed out. Maybe me getting laid off during this time was the right time for me to reflect and to really think about what I want to do. So when I was able to, when I was healthy, I'm going to go all in. I'm going to do consultant work for things that I love, whether that's content creation, health and wellness, doing more podcasts, investing more into that, so that way I can give more value to my listeners. And we've been thinking about it since the pandemic, was starting our own business. And we knew this would give us the freedom to do a lot of different stuff. And we knew it was going to be hard, but I'd love to tell you more about the business and all the things that I've been doing to stay positive and to stay healthy. If you want to hear more, give me a quick follow.